What's up, guys? My name is Tai Zen. I am broadcasting from the southern part of Bangkok right now in the country of Thailand in Southeast Asia. In this video, guys, I want to share with you guys about the difference in talent and skill between the American Democratic government and the Vietnamese Communist Party government. Okay, so there's the way that it's set up. Okay, and there's a lot of differences, but in this video I just want to talk about the talent. Okay, and when I say talent, like having real political skills. Okay. So the way that the people get voted into the Congress in the U.S. and even in the local government, right, is by the vote of the people. So if I live in a specific county, right, I can go vote for the judges, the different government officials in that district. Okay. So in America, there's 50 states. Each state is divided up into different districts. Okay, and those districts are called counties. Okay, in Vietnam, instead of being states, they're called provinces. Okay, which they serve as similar. It's comparable. You can, the province and the state, and then each province is divided up into sections. Instead of being called counties, they're called districts. Okay, and then there's other small subdivisions, but we're just going to refer to those two. The provinces and the states, and then the districts versus the counties in America. And then at the federal level, in the U.S., there's the federal government that's in Washington D.C., and then in Vietnam, the Communist Party is in the Communist Party Congress is in the capital city of Hanoi, okay, which is in the northern part of Vietnam. And one thing that I've noticed is one of the biggest differences is that, and probably one of the most obvious and biggest differences that you'll see when you speak the Vietnamese language and speak the English language, and you understand both the Vietnamese culture and the American culture, right, is that one of the first things you'll notice is that the people who are in politics, the politicians in America, right, I'm just going to focus on specifically the Congress, the members of Congress, okay, so that we're comparing an apples to apples. Okay, there's 435 or 400 and some people in the American Congress, the House of Representatives. I'm not talking about the 100 people that's in the senators. Okay, I'm just talking about the legislators, the 435 congressmen that's in the House of Representatives. And I'm going to compare that to the 400 and something members of the the Vietnamese Communist Party. Okay, and so both of them are Congresses. They both have very, very similar roles in both countries. Okay, they make the laws and they figure out what laws to make for the entire country, and so they serve a very, very similar role. Okay, the only difference is that the members of the Communist Party are voted in by other members of the Communist Party, okay, and the members of the U.S. Congress are voted in by the citizens, okay. And the biggest difference between that is that in America, when I lived there, I noticed that myself and anyone else that lived in America can vote for those congressmen, okay. And whether you are a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, a mathematician, an engineer, an astronaut, a taxi cab driver, a garbage man, right? Or you can be a prostitute on the streets, you can be a drug dealer, right? It doesn't matter what your background is, you are eligible to vote for the members of Congress who make the laws for America. On the other hand, right, in other words, in America, there's no qualifications other than you meet whatever the voting requirements are, right? And then you are eligible to vote for that congressman to represent your neighborhood or your area, your district. Okay, and likewise, I don't have to be, when I live in America, I don't have to be qualified. I don't have to understand anything about politics. If I go on TV or on the internet and I just like that guy, I can just vote for him. I don't even have to understand what he's doing. And I don't have to have any understanding of politics either. Okay, so in America, the way the system works is that neither the politician nor the people voting for the politicians have to be qualified to vote for that person or to become a politician. So the politician doesn't have to be qualified to become the politician, and the voters that vote for him don't have to be qualified in politics or understand politics to vote for him either. Okay, now that's how the American system works. Now, it's a huge difference when you come to Vietnam and look at the Vietnamese Communist Party, right? So when you look at the Vietnamese Communist Congress, okay, it's a lot different because those 400 and something men that are and women that are in the Vietnamese, the Communist Congress, right? They are actually talented. Those people did not get there by accident, okay? Now, I know that there are a lot of things that people say that, oh, you know, there's a lot of nepotism, and in case English is not your primary language, nepotism means that if I have a brother that's in the government, you know, he can do favors and pull strings and make things happen to where I can go work in the government also, okay? So, or like if I have an uncle or a dad that's a congressman or a general or a president or a prime minister or something, then they're going to do things to make me get a position in the government also. So that's what nepotism is. And that can happen in the corporate world too. That's not just in the political world, okay? But in Vietnam, even though we have a lot of things where you hear a lot of rumors that there's a lot of nepotism and that, you know, family members are helping each other get into the positions in the government, right? This, from my experience, from what I observe, it's true. It could be true, right, at the local and at the lower levels of government. However, when you get to the Congress level, right, and these are the top 400 politicians, you know, 400 plus politicians in the country that are voted in to come up with the new laws to govern the country and everything, right? It's a lot different than America because they have a system in Vietnam where you start out the local governments and then you work your way up through merit, right? You work in the local government offices, and if you have a talent, you know, the system in the communist system in Vietnam is designed so that the talent comes up the ranks. You know, in America we call it the cream rises to the top. So it's designed and it encourages that if you have political talent, that you will have an opportunity to come to the top, okay, and help run the country. And that's how it's designed. It's Vietnam borders China, you know, and so it borrowed the Confucian philosophy and just the Chinese culture is influence. It has a heavy influence in Vietnam. So because of that, it's very often that when I live in America and I live with my friends and my family members and colleagues and everything, it's many times we will make fun of the American politicians, okay, the American congressmen. We call them stupid, we call them, you know, idiots, we call them retards. Now some of them, right, like for example, for me personally, right, my friends and I, like, none of us would ever call someone like a Trey Gowdy from South Carolina, right? None of us would ever call him an idiot or stupid or something like that, right? Or retarded, okay? But someone like, you know, Bernie Sanders, right? Somebody like an Elizabeth Warren, somebody like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, right? Somebody like a Ilhan Omar, right? Or the bunch of the other clowns that's in the Socialist Democrat Party, you know. Those we would call them and make fun of them, you know, like, you know, I make fun of Bernie Sanders and call him Uncle Bernie all the time, you know, and so this is common, and we actually joke about that in America, and we laugh about it, and we think it's hilarious. We make memes and we make jokes about stuff like that. However, in the Vietnamese Communist Party Congress, right, that is not something that you will see in Vietnam. Okay, you will not see any of the Vietnamese citizens. We have like close to 100 million people now, right? And you won't see any of those people make fun of the congressman, the communist congressman, because the reason why is because they would not get to that position, okay, if they didn't have talent. Now, it's possible that when at a lower level of government, right, they had family members that introduced them and opened the doors for them to give them an opportunity to come into the Communist Party and everything. But after that, they still have to work their way up and display talent. Okay. Now I want to talk about the talent that's in the American Congress and versus the Vietnamese Communist Congress. Okay, that I observe. Okay. Now, keep in mind, guys, I'm not a politician. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert or something. This is just what I observe. Because I happen to speak English and Vietnamese, and I happen to live in both cultures, and I understand both cultures, and I like both cultures. Okay, so one thing that you'll notice is that in America, right, when we make fun of the congressman, right, there's no repercussions, and we might say that, hey, there's freedom of speech, so we can say whatever we want. You know, the U.S. government is not going to come and shut you up or do something drastic to you or hurt you or something like that if you talk bad about any of the congressmen in Congress, right? Because we can make fun of that and we can get away with that because we all know in America that some of those politicians, right, some of those congressmen have talent and some of them do not. You know, when you look at someone, let's say like for example, like a Trey Gowdy from South Carolina, right? It's pretty obvious, you know, to anyone that has half a brain, you know, that the guy is probably talented at what he does in politics, right? The way that he communicates clearly, the way that he can communicate lots of ideas in very few words and communicate clearly and concisely, and for someone that understands the laws in America, so that when he talks and he makes an argument or something, like he's citing specific laws that, you know, that the U.S. has, you know, like some lousy politicians, like for example, like AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from the state of New York, right? She just, you know, runs her mouth and just says things and she never cites any of the U.S. laws. So you never know if she's just making it up or if she's actually citing real law that actually exists in America, right? So, for example, like she talks about, you know, letting illegal people, immigrants come into America. Well, America has laws for that. So you can't just violate the law just because you're a congresswoman and you think that, you know, just because you're the youngest congresswoman in U.S. history, that doesn't give you the right to say things that violate U.S. law that already exists. Now, if you can lobby and get all your other friends and members of Congress to change the laws, then that's a different story. But to sit there to say stupid things like do away with, you know, the immigration, customs, and enforcement people, which are the law enforcement division of the immigration service in America, to say stupid things like that it's just really silly, because whenever people in Vietnam hear politicians like her say stupid nonsense like that, it's just so retarded and so stupid that the people in Vietnam probably cannot even imagine that someone that she's even for real, that she's a real congresswoman, because there's no way that somebody in Vietnam would encourage, you know, to do away with the law enforcement that is responsible for enforcing the laws in Vietnam. You know, that's just unheard of in Vietnam. Okay, so because we know that people can be a congresswoman, a member of Congress, without having any talent, any skill, any experience, or anything like that, that's why we can get away with making fun of them in America and no one says anything. And also because there's freedom of speech. Now in Vietnam, a lot of people think that we do not have freedom of speech in the Communist Party, and that's not really true. Like, you can say whatever you want. You know, you can say that a politician is stupid or is dumb or is retarded or is an idiot, right? You can say that, but I can assure you that the majority of the Vietnamese people are going to look at you very, very stupid, okay? Because everyone in Vietnam knows that in order for you to get that high level of politics, you have to have talent, because the system in Vietnam is designed so it's based on merit, so that you have to demonstrate that, hey, I'm good at governing the local levels before they move me up here, and then I can demonstrate that I'm capable of governing this amount of people or this amount of land before they promote me and other people vote for me to come up and so on, right? And so if you have no talent, there's no way that you would get to that high level. And that's the reason why, if you look at the Communist Congress in Vietnam, you look at it and it's mostly 50, 60, 70-year-old people. It's extremely rare. You will not see a young guy like me, right? Even though I'm 49 years old, I don't think you'll ever see a guy my age in there, because there's not enough time in my life to acquire the experience and the skills that's needed to make new laws for the country. Okay, so because of that, since I live in Vietnam, I've never heard of any Vietnamese say that the Congress are stupid people. And to say so would be so ridiculous, right? Because people would look at you and say, if you're so smart, then why don't you go and see if you can make it and become a congressman? Let's see you go in there and demonstrate to all the members of the Communist Party that you're so talented that they need to make you a member of their Congress so that you can make new laws for this country. So because of that, I have never heard anyone in Vietnam, any of the citizens, any of the residents, anybody ever talk shit or say something derogatory or say something bad about the members of the Communist Congress, okay? Now, you will hear a lot of the people that are poor, okay, and also the people that are wealthy that will accuse members of the Communist Congress of taking, of corruption and things like that. But, right, that they will say, but they will never say that these guys are stupid, idiots, or retarded, okay? Now, you hear a lot of people make those claims, and I'll make a video about the corruption or the truth about the corruption in Vietnam, maybe in a future video, right? But right now, I just want to focus on the actual talent, okay? So that you guys understand, whenever people talk about the members of the Communist Party here, right, in Vietnam, I want you guys to know that the members have to demonstrate they have talent to move up the ranks. And I also want to talk about, what does it mean when they have talent? Well, from my observation and my research, okay, I noticed that what the Vietnamese government considers talent and what the Vietnamese people consider talent is different than what the American people consider talent. So for example, okay, in America, they consider that if you can get enough people to vote for you to become a congressman, right, then you must have talent. Okay, because you were able to convince enough people to vote for you instead of voting for someone else. Okay, so to them that's talent. So to me, that's more of like marketing skills. That's more of a popularity contest. Okay, now in Vietnam, right, in order for you to become a congressman, there's 3 things that you have to demonstrate that I noticed. Okay, one is that you actually have to demonstrate you have actual real political skills. Like, you know how to network with other people, you have to know how to connect with other people, you have to know how to build alliances, you have to know how to build friends and get other members of the Communist Party to trust you and to believe in you so that they'll vote for you, right? Then the other thing too is that you have to have money. Okay, that's something does not appear to be a requirement in America. On the surface. On the surface, it does not look like you have to have money to become a congressman, okay? But the reality is you do. Like, you're not going to be broke. Like, even though, like, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez comes off as, hey, I was a bartender and all this other stuff, the reality is somebody else had to put up a bunch of money for her. Like, the DNC, the Democratic Party, had to help her, and then, friends and family. You're just not going to be a broke ass and just all of a sudden become a member of Congress, okay? That's extremely, extremely rare, okay? But in America, in Vietnam, that's never going to happen, okay? And I don't use too many absolutes. My lawyers always get on my ass about using absolute words like always, never, and stuff like that. But it's not in the Vietnamese culture to accept a poor person to represent them, okay? Even the poor people will not vote for a poor person to represent them. It's just unheard of. Like, I am not going to let somebody that's a broke ass go and represent me in Congress and make new laws for my district or my province. That's just not a concept that the Vietnamese people understand, and they will not accept that, okay? They will never concede or agree to the idea that someone that is poor, okay, is going to represent them. Okay, they will not do that. Okay, so if you guys like wonder, like, hey, like, it's not fair, like, they need to have a democratic, and election and vote for, give everybody a chance to become a member of Congress. That's not going to happen under the Vietnamese culture, and it's not because it's a communist or a communist law or rule or something like that. It's because it's a cultural thing. Like there's no one in Vietnam that I've ever met that says, oh, I want somebody that is a broke ass or somebody that's poor to be to represent me. Okay, that's not going to happen, guys. Okay, the next thing is this: is that besides the ability to network and politic and build allies and create friendships, right? And then the second thing would be having money and being wealthy. And when I say having money, guys, we're not talking a small amount. Okay, like if I don't believe like every member of the Communist Congress, it's safe to say that they are multi-millionaires, okay, in U.S. dollars. They're not broke, guys. They are far from being broke, okay? And they have to have wealth because in order to politic and do politics, you have to have money in Vietnam, okay? Or else you're not going to be able to do politics. No one is going to talk to you if you're broke. It doesn't matter how good of a politician you are. If you are broke, no one talks to you, okay? So that's just how the society is in Asia, and not just in Vietnam, but it's all over Asia. That if you don't have money, no one wants to talk to you, okay? That's why, you know, if you see why Asians go to America and they drive all these Lexus and Acuras and all these fancy cars, it's because that's the culture they came from. If you don't demonstrate you have money, no one will talk to you. So they carry that culture into America, and that's why they think they have to show money all the time, okay? Which is not the case, because in America they judge you on your individual merit more so than how much money you have, okay? So back to the third thing, okay? The third thing is that you have to have connections. Okay, now you have to have connections already, and you have to know how to make money for the people above you. Okay, so if you're a member and the people that help you get to the top, right? If you don't know how to make money for them, right, then you're not fit to be a politician. Okay, you're just not fit. So because of that, you have to have money. Okay, you have to have, you know, influence, the ability to network and connect with other people, and the third is you have to have the ability to make money for the people that's above you, your superiors above you. That's just natural. Like in the way that it works in Vietnam, just the culture, and this is through the jobs, the corporate world, and through the political world. Okay, is that when somebody's above you is giving you a good salary, a promotion, or gives you a bank loan or something like that, you have to compensate them. You have to reward them. You have to gift them something, right? You can't just expect them they do that for you and then you don't do anything in return. Okay, so that's just part of Vietnamese culture. That has nothing to do with the Communist Party. That's just part of the culture. So because of that, that carries over into the politics too. So because of that, it's very common for the not only the guys to be wealthy, but they know how to give gifts to each other. Okay, so those are the things that I wanted to share with you guys in this video. So when you guys compare the American Democratic Congress to the Vietnamese Communist Congress, you guys will understand their responsibilities are very similar to create the laws for the country, for their respective countries, but the type of talent that they need to have to be a member of Congress, or the route that they have to go through to become a member of Congress, is completely different. Okay, and just so you guys know, a lot of people always claim that the Communist Party is a single party system, right? And that's true, but it's also not true. Okay, it's a single party system, but inside the party there are several factions and there's several groups of people. Okay, so when you get to the top or you get into the Communist Party, you have to, you know, like, hey, which faction are you a part of? And then that's how they compete with each other to move up the ranks and see who becomes the top members of the party. Okay, so I want to just share that with you guys. Okay. Oh, and by the way, guys, I forgot to mention about the honor and the respect. Okay, if you guys, if we see a congressman, right, out in America, it's not really a big deal. Like outside of his office and when he's on TV, but in his neighborhood and everything, he doesn't wield a lot of honor and respect that a congressman should. You would think that a congressman should have in America. Okay, you have a few that's popular, right? Like like you might have Uncle Bernie Sanders. He's popular, so wherever he goes, he might draw a crowd or something like that. But other than that, but still, there's not like a tremendous amount of respect for him as a politician, okay? Or he may not bring a tremendous amount of honor and respect to his family line, okay? In Vietnam, it's a lot different. If you have a member of your family become a member of the Communist Party Congress, right? It's extremely honorable. Like it is extremely prestigious. It's extremely honorable. You have so much face. You have so much value in society. Like if I can walk around and say that, you know, my dad or my uncle or my brother is a member of the Vietnamese Communist Congress, right? That is a massive value and a massive respect in the neighborhood and in the city that I'm in. If I am known to have an uncle or a dad or a brother or somebody, a relative, as a member of the Congress, okay, in Vietnam. So just also want to share that with you guys because it's completely different how the system over here works compared to how it works in America, right? And I don't see either one being better than the other. I don't think that the Communist Party is better than the Democratic government in America. Is better. One is better than the other. Each one, I believe, serves the culture and the people that it's designed to serve. The Communist Party came out of the culture that is in Vietnam, and the Democratic Party, the Democratic government, came out of the culture of the American people. So if you take that system and apply it towards the culture in Vietnam, I don't see it working. And then if you take the system in Vietnam and apply it towards the American people and the American culture, I don't see that working either. Okay, so each country grows its own system and evolves its own system of government and governance to run its country. And I think that instead of saying that one is better than the other, I think it's more important that we understand why this culture decided to go with a communist type government, and then this culture over here decided to go with a democratic type government, right? And in a separate video, I'll talk about more about the realities of of both parties and whether it's truly what people see, you know. And I on the surface, right? These series of videos about Vietnam, guys, I'm making these videos just so you guys know, in case you're new to this channel. I'm making it because when I lived in America, even though I'm Vietnamese and I was born in Vietnam, I came to America as a refugee, and I was misled and I was taught a lot of bad information that was not accurate about Vietnam, its government, its culture, its people, its landscape, its economy, and everything. So in these series of videos of living in Vietnam, my goal is to help the viewer, you know, help you as the viewer understand the cultural differences between the two countries and let you decide for yourself, you know, which one you think is better or which one you think, you know, should be improved or which one is not so good, okay? Instead of rumors, and instead of, because we have this issue where we have the losing party, the puppet government, that was the puppet government that was put into South Vietnam by the American military, right? They lost. So when America lost and the puppet government also lost, you know, the puppet government is made up of Vietnamese people that moved to America, and now most of them are living in Southern California or in Atlanta or in San Jose, around the Silicon Valley area. So because of that, there's a lot of false information about Vietnam. And my goal in making these videos is to help the Vietnamese people outside of Vietnam understand, hopefully, to understand the realities and the truth about Vietnam and the Vietnam of today, and not the Vietnam that people remember to be during the war. Okay, thanks for watching this video, guys. If you guys have Vietnamese friends, Vietnamese family members, and Vietnamese co-workers or relatives that have not been in Vietnam for a while and they don't clearly understand how Vietnam works, please share this video with them so that we can get the truth out about how the truth about Vietnam, okay, and how it really is. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys in a future video. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Hey Thai Zen. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in a future video.